special favors. How many of you guys have had clients try to give you something because they're so appreciative? Right? Can you take gifts from clients? No. Because what does that tell them? Right? It tells other clients that they might get better service if they give you gifts. Is that a message we want to send to our clients? No. No. How many people know what I mean when I say staff splitting? How many people have encountered that? All right, staff splitting is when, let's say I love using DJJ. So you're working at DJJ, and there's 2 social workers. And you're working with Mike. Oh, okay, this is good. Social work and a correctional officer. And so the client comes up to Mike, the social worker. It's like, oh, going on and on and on and on. Did I tell you that that Bob, the correctional officer, said that you suck? That you're the worst social worker here? How does that make Mike feel? Right? And then what does that create? You guys are going to learn this. Triangulation. Right? Okay? Our clients love to do it. Why? It's just like children. How many of you guys have children? They didn't like mom's answer, so they asked dad. They didn't tell dad, they asked mom. Well, mom said you'd always say that. Right? How many of our children use us against each other? And then you don't realize what happened. Right? This is what I'm talking about, guys. You need to figure out how you're going to respond to these things before they happen. We already talked about at the beginning of your relationship with clients, you may want to ask them, right? If I see you out in public, how do you want me to respond to you? Okay? How many of you guys in here are working with teenagers and adolescents? It's a good chunk of you guys, actually. How many of you guys may only be 4 or 5 years older than the clients you're working with? Right? Maintaining boundaries, guys. This is what we're talking about. Because they're going to look up to you. If you're in a high school, you just graduated from undergrad, they're going to look up to you. But you have to be able to find that balance between having that professional relationship with them, being friendly, but not being their friend. Okay? I'm going to pop this over to Dr. Reimer, but does anybody have any questions about anything we've talked about?
Yes. Question about gifts. Kind of an awkward conversation.
Okay, the question was, how do you appropriately respond to a client asking you for gifts, or trying to give you a gift, and letting them know that you can't accept it? Dr. Reimer always has a great example that she gives.
Usually I'm just open with the dialogue about it. I don't, there's no magical right answer. Sometimes if it's something that benefits the organization, it's a gift to the organization, not to me. Other times I tell them that although I appreciate the intent, how much I enjoy working with them, I can't accept it for those reasons. And we have a dialogue about it and we process it. I did work in private practice, so I did come across that situation a couple of times, and I usually address that in the beginning. So it never became an issue. After my first couple of times, I realized it was part of my rapport building and expectations that you develop with those that you work with. You just say, I know that you may want to thank me for our work together, but I want to let you know I cannot accept gifts. You can speak well or make, in what other ways you may want to speak kindly of the services we provide, but we can't accept physical gifts. So I think, coming up with your own iron set list of what you want to make sure you cover in that beginning phase of building rapport with clients, you do need to make sure that you go over such things as that so it doesn't become problematic down the road. A lot of times people will give you a thank you card. People move away from gifts. And sometimes you will have those that want to give you something anyway, and they drop it off, and it's like, what do you do with it? In those situations, it became something of the organization I worked for, the agency, so it wasn't about me.
So it's like a client pay like a fee or something like that over.
Right.
You say, oh, no.
You would just, I guess I'll probably what Cliff said earlier, just like a kind of common sense approach about that. But, you want to have that discussion in the beginning and what it would mean. You don't want to present that you're being paid for something in some way. I mean, it really is about respecting the power differential and not taking advantage of them in some way that it may seem by them giving you gifts or services. I do want, where did Janice go? Did Janice leave? We asked Janice to come. I had a couple of questions. We're about ready to take a break. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to have Jessica Hunter is here to talk about student perspective. And we've kind of made over lunch, we decided on an addendum to try to get us to end on time. We're trying to end around 4:30 or 5 today. So don't worry about the time. But before you went to break, I wanted Janice to come in here because she has forms she needs some of you to complete. And then some folks had questions about background checks and that sort of thing. So I texted her over lunch, and she was planning on coming by to talk to y'all about it. But I'm not sure where she just ran off to. Here we go. Here's Janice. Janice is going to come forward and talk to you.
Kind of like where's Bob? I already did that joke.
So I'm going to let Janice have the floor.
Well, I suppose you're on overload by now, so I'll be brief. What do you want to ask me?
So they had questions about background checks, that sort of thing. Some folks did.
Brittany.
Okay, so you're with an agency that's requiring that. Is that Loretta or Brian or something? Okay, just need to come and see me and I'll give you a custody form. Yeah, and then you get a PPD counseling also. Okay, and we do pay for the drug screen and background checks if we're contractually have that agreement with the agency.
I just got found on an email you sent like a month ago that you needed my paperwork from a background check. And I haven't.
Okay, great.
A month ago, huh?
If there aren't that many, what we can do is we can
Go ahead for break, and then Janice is up here to answer questions about that. So let's go ahead and take our 15-minute break. Be back in 15 minutes, and then Janice is here to answer those questions.
Scary when like people are in each I know where you're going. Yeah. And we're going to
That's happened to me so many times.
Hey, I'm still on orientation. I'll be here until 4:35. Oh, still the same building. Okay, so oh, we'll go. So I'll just run out. When you come back? Okay, so you're definitely coming back tonight, so I'll take the key tomorrow. Okay. And I'll yeah. No, I need to be Hello? Field? Field, please. Yeah. Oh, are you out? You're here now? Oh. Well, no, actually. Well, actually, I'm just going to start with this, so whenever you text me, I'll come out.
Will you be here on Saturday classes? Okay. Welcome to the meeting. Yeah. The adoption. It's got 12 rooms for increase hospice care and
Okay, y'all, let's start to get our seats. I want to try to get us back on track. We're going to start in about 3 minutes. It is a lot of information to throw at you, isn't it? It probably feels a bit overwhelming at times. Alright, y'all, come on in. We've got a special guest with us this afternoon. So I want y'all to get seated so we can get started.
Really? I'm slow.
Over lunch, we kind of made some concessions. There's some things that we're going to incorporate in tomorrow, and then some of what I was going to do this afternoon, I'm going to give you as opportunity to do during your block week. We don't have to do it as a group, so we're going to try to conserve and keep true to the time that we have allocated for today. With that being said, I would really like to talk a little bit about Jessica Hunter's with us, and she just graduated in 2013 in May. And she's going to come up and talk to y'all in a minute and talk about expectations. But what makes Jessica so special, not only the fact that she has her license and passed her test, is that she actually won the Student in the Field Award. It's an award that we just started to do this last year, and we gave one to a field instructor and one to a field student, and the nominations didn't come from me. The field instructors nominated students they felt would be appropriate for the award, and then students nominated field instructors. We had over 32 students nominated. And our field advisory committee made a decision based on a rubric, which is just a matrix method of how you would rate what was said about Jessica and what she accomplished in field compared to the other 31 students. And we actually gave it to 2 students. But Jessica, I mean, that's a big, huge accomplishment to win that award. So I'm going to let her come up here and talk to you about what she got out of the field and what she makes out of it, and what kind of practical advice that she can give to you. So let's give her a warm welcome.
Hi, like she said, I'm Jessica Hunter, and I was in y'all's seats about 2 years ago, feeling overwhelmed. I'm pretty sure I left and called my mom crying, saying that I had to drop out of the program because I was not going to be able to do it. I promise you, it's not that bad. We'll make it through. I'm here to talk to you about field. This was my favorite part of the MSW program, hands down. You get to take all the theories and practices you learned about in class, and you get to bring, or you learned out in class, and you get to bring your own, sorry, let me start it. Okay. You get to take all the theories and practices you learned about in class and use them in real life. You get to create your own experiences and bring them back to the classroom and contribute and talk about all the things that you've done out in the field. But to make field worthwhile, you have to put in effort. Yes, there will be obstacles that you have to overcome, whether that's your supervisors or agency policies or clients, but you decide how to deal with those and what to make of them. I was lucky to have supervisors that gave me the perfect amount of guidance. I had enough freedom to do what I needed to, but if I needed supervision, they were there for me. And I was lucky enough last week to talk to all of your supervisors, so I let them know what you should be expecting from them. So these are the 10 tips that I came up with to make field as beneficial as possible. One, keep track of time. Timesheets are something you don't want to have to look back over the semester and try to remember how many days you were there, what days you were sick, or, oh, I worked extra hours this week. Because you know things like you have a community analysis paper due, 30 pages in November, and those are days that you might want to take a day off of field. So keep track of it. Oh, do they not know that they have a paper yet? Sorry, it's very bad. It's not that bad. But yeah, so you might need a day or two off. So if you work extra some week, you can take off another. Sorry. All right. Save everything. It can be hard copies, electronic files, but I promise you, you will have a project or a paper or something that you will need to use your field experience to write. Again, it's easier to look back at what you did than to think back on what you did, or think of all the little details of every client that you worked with or anything. So this is also a good way to have samples of your writing in case you're writing, so you can see your improvements over the next 2 years. And also, you never know in interviews, sometimes they ask for samples of writing, so you'll have that all there. Ask questions. I know this seems basic, but do it. If you're confused and you don't understand, it's better to ask than to do it wrong and have to redo it. That's what your supervisors are there for. They don't expect you to know everything. That's why you're in school and you go to field. You're there to learn. Especially for those of you who don't have BSWs, which I was one of them. I didn't know what I was doing half the time or what they were talking about half the time because I didn't have that background knowledge. So I felt lost the majority of the time. So ask. And you'll be surprised how many other people have the same questions that you do. Self-reflection. Don't be afraid to admit your biases, judgments, or thoughts about clients or organizations or things. You will do so many assignments, which apparently you don't know about yet, that will make you look deeper inside yourself and your family, and any issue that you ever had that you didn't want to think about, you'll be writing about those. And so my first field placement, I was in Gonzales Garden. I don't know. Yeah. It's a public housing here in Columbia for all of you. If you haven't seen the Bloody South Gangland, that's where it's based, just so you know. So naturally, I had opinions and thoughts about this community that I was going to work in. My first day, we went out and we went to canvass the community. And I went up to this lady, the first woman I saw, and I went to shake her hand. And I was like, "Hi, this is what we're here to do." And she looked at me and she said, "Sweetheart, you're white. Everyone here is going to think you're a cop. No one's going to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." So that was my first experience there. And naturally, that discouraged me a little bit, but I went back and my supervisor, I sat down with him and we talked about it. And I brought up the whole gangland thing that I watched before I was there, and I was just like, she just reinforced everything that I think, and I got to talk through it and work through it. And after working there for a year, I realized that there's amazing people that live there, and they're not what gangland says they are, and I learned more about the neighborhood than I ever thought I could. And I realized that everyone's perspective is different. But having that supervisor there for me to talk with and reflect with let me work through the biases and thoughts that I had. And if I only knew that getting called a cop was probably the nicest thing I was going to get called there, I wouldn't have worried so much. Professional development. This is what field placement is all about. It's about gaining experiences and building your toolbox, which you will hear about multiple times. So when you're making your learning contract, seriously think of things that you want to gain from the experience. Write them down and make sure you find ways to accomplish them. And talk with your supervisors. Let them know if there's projects that you want to be a part of. Say, this goes perfectly along with my learning contract. Okay. Initiate and advocate for yourself. Just like I said with the learning contract, discuss with your supervisors. Let them know what you want to learn and what you want to be a part of. If it correlates with it, ask to be a part of it. And also speak up in staff meetings and things that you participate in, because there are things that you're doing for your organization that they probably don't know as much about because you're the one experiencing it, and also you have a new set of eyes. So your voice needs to be heard because you can look at things differently and help. Connect classroom to agency. You'll have, again, many projects and papers that your field experience will be a resource. Let your supervisor know about these projects and papers. Some of your projects may seem hard to relate to your field, so talk to your supervisor and they can help you. I worked in an organization where I did foster care, but the organization had a lot of other branches and things that they did. So when I had to run groups, which when you're in foster care, you're not running groups, I was able to work with the group home that they ran as well. So just talk to them and they can help you with these projects and figure out, they know people that if what you're doing doesn't necessarily correlate, they can help you find someone who it does. Okay. Network. Use every opportunity you can to meet people. Keep track of everyone that you meet. That's an Excel document of all the community contacts I made. It's a small world. You'll run into these people again. It's a small world of social work. I've reached out to people not only when looking for jobs, but now in my job that can help me and make more connections to make my job work now more beneficial. All right. Feedback. This is also something that you will learn about in class a lot. Make sure you're willing to give and receive feedback. Ask for feedback. It's part of your professional development. It's check in and see how you're doing. Check in with your clients. Ask them. Say, do you like it? I'm doing it this way. What don't you like? Do you see improvements? Do you see negative changes? I ask for my feedback from my clients on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm helping them and helping them grow like they want to. Also, make sure you give feedback. If there's something your supervisor is doing that you like, then let them know. If there's something they're doing that you don't like, let them know, because you want to they can grow from you as well. And feedback is very crucial in our line of work all the way around giving and receiving. All right, and then self-care. If you haven't heard this one yet, you will definitely hear this one about every day. Sorry. I've only been working for a little over 3 months now, and my supervisor has already sat down and talked to me about self-care. Take time for yourself every day, even if it's just like going to lunch. Leave your agency. Go outside for 30 minutes. You need the break. Even if it's just 30 minutes, trust me, it's going to help you. This program can be overwhelming. You have lives outside of school, and some people have work and families, and that 30 minutes just to calm down and take to yourself is something that you need. So, and your supervisors are social workers as well, so they know all about self-care and they know that you need that 30 minutes. So, these are my 10 tips to make field as beneficial as you can. If you only take one thing away from this whole presentation, it's communication is key. Talk with your supervisors. They know your schedules. They know the classes that you're taking. So they understand what you're going through. They've been through it. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there and advocate for yourself. This is your learning experience. You make it what you want it to be.
Any questions for Jessica? Now is your time.
Where I'm working at now. I work for Thornwell Children's Home. They are located in Clinton, but they're starting a program here in Columbia, and I'm a family specialist. So I actually work at Spring Valley Presbyterian Church is where my office is, but I work for Thornwell Children's.
Are you full-time or part-time?
I was full-time.
What kind of, that experience, the first 2 weeks in class was like, overwhelming, like, how did you do it?
It was overwhelming for me at first because I didn't have a BSW. So a lot of the stuff that they talked about, I didn't understand necessarily at first. And then I felt like, oh, I'm in grad school, I shouldn't ask questions like everyone seems to understand. So that was probably the biggest thing for me to overcome with the program, is just knowing to ask questions and, learn those little things.
What was your undergraduate degree in?
Criminal justice and women and gender studies. Yes. I was very, very nervous, but it wasn't, do they have access? Not yet, okay. They will, okay. The school has a study guide, or basically like a class on Blackboard that has videos and PowerPoints and practice exams, and that's what I studied, and it was very beneficial. It helped a lot. So make sure if you go through the study guides that they have in the class, it's like exactly what you need to know.
The question was about how she experienced life. Any other questions? I'm sorry. No. But is it the same exam for, I'm just saying, you guys, like the exam for North Carolina and throughout the United States, or, I don't know. You go ahead, I'll pull up my take this one.
That's right, yeah.
You're gonna really get questions.
You really want me to do that? I don't want to do that.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm Archie. I'm the South Carolina chapter president for MSW. So we also work on these kind of things. But the licensure exam answers the question. Licensure tests are actually prepared by a national organization, and that's across the whole country. State to state, different states establish their own names, types of licensure, what you need to score on a test to pass, which licenses they want to do, because there's actually 4 different ones. Some states only do 2, some do all 4. California and Florida actually each have a 5th, that's their own. So it's not as easy as saying, oh, is it the same? In North Carolina, that had to be the one you asked about. How many North Carolina people, how many of you are going to go back to North Carolina and get your license? With all due respect, they cheat the exam. South Carolina and 48 other states have what's called an MSW. You get your master's degree, you get your license, nice like Jessica over here. North Carolina wants you to practice so badly, they take your money, they give you a provisional, licensed independent social work, means you get to skip that whole first exam. They give you a provisional license, and then you still have to get 2 years of supervision and some other requirements before you can test at an advanced level. But every other state makes you get the LMSW, then do all the supervision, et cetera, test at an advanced level. North Carolina doesn't really bother with that exam. They just take your money and they give you the provisional. They catch with it being, you're committed to North Carolina. No other state accepts that. So until you finish the process,